I want to talk about this because I haven't heard too much about this case. The investigation is still ongoing, so other things may pop up as we're going along here. If you've heard of this case and you want to add to the information, please let us know. But I thought it was kind of odd because we don't really hear about females performing mass casualty events or mass shootings. And I apologize ahead of time because a lot of this is going to be censored due to the fact that YouTube doesn't like certain words being used, and YouTube uses a lot of AI to determine if the content that you're talking about doesn't follow the community guidelines or needs to be censored. But I hope that either way you can kind of follow along with the story here. I went ahead and pulled up some statistics. Statista.com says that between 1982 and 2024, there were 151 incidents of mass casualty events or mass shootings, and of those 151, only 4 were performed by females. The rest are males or a group of male and female. So that's a huge difference, right? The one thing I can say is that at least this has kind of a happy ending because we're able to thwart the attack before the 2 teenagers in this story could engage in the acts that they were planning. So 2 teen girls from Texas, a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, started plotting to shoot up Memorial High School in Houston. They met while they were attending some off-campus classes. Attack was actually planned over social media. The girls' plan was to place pipe bombs around the school and shoot at the students as they left the classrooms. Someone actually reached out to law enforcement to let them know what was going on, and they quickly got to thwarting the attack. Social media is not always a great thing, but I'm really glad that they decided that they weren't going to keep this undercover, because by the time they would have pulled something like phone records, the attack would have already happened. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had any reason to be pulling phone records. So I'm glad that they went ahead and just planned this out over social media so somebody could say something. And that's the biggest thing, is when you see something, whether you think that people are bluffing or not, go ahead and say something. It's better that you're wrong and that they aren't actually planning on doing it than you just blowing it off and then something terrible happens. So since these girls are minors, we do not have their names. So the rest of this video, I'm just going to be referencing them by their ages. But basically, a source notified the FBI of some specific and genuinely concerning online posts between the 2 of them. Spring Branch ISD Police Chief Larry Bainbridge said this about the case. When you read the context of the communication, it's pretty obvious this was a well beyond just throwing some ideas around, he said. This was a very clear plan. Bainbridge also said, if you see me looking up, my script is across from me. They were pretty specific on some of the tactics. It was surprising some of the knowledge of police tactics, which I'm guessing means that there was a bit of research that went into their plan. And how else are they getting this knowledge? And that's kind of alarming because that shows some level of seriousness about what they were actually planning on doing. All of this occurred on February 18th. So at around 2:45 p.m. that day, the FBI notified both Montgomery County law enforcement and Spring Branch Independent School District of the threat. 30 minutes later, at around 3:15, law enforcement managed to locate both girls and bring them into custody. The 16-year-old, who was a sophomore at the nearby alternative school being a school that kids who get kind of behind in their studies go to so they can get caught up before going back to their regular school. She was going to Academy of Choice. That's the name of the alternative school. Normally, she would have going to Memorial High School, which is the school where they were planning this attack. The 16-year-old was charged with terroristic threats. We don't know what the 15-year-old was charged with. We know that she was in custody and on unrelated charges. The 15-year-old actually goes to Willis High School in Conroe, Texas. They were kind of in the early stages of planning, but over the course of the last few weeks, things had been kind of ramping up. So they were really starting to consider their next steps here, is what law enforcement believes. They still haven't really determined a motive outside of just disdain for their fellow students, which who didn't have some level of disdain for their fellow students? I mean, high school is no freaking joke. But my thing is, no normal person at any point actually thought about ending multiple people at their high school, which kind of makes me wonder if this is one of those infamy situations where they thought, if I do this, I'm gonna go down in history. Those people are honestly insane. You need help. Law enforcement searched the school following the incidents. They got everybody out of there. They didn't find any bomb making materials. They didn't find any weapons. They didn't find any bombs. So that's great. After they did their search, they determined that there was no present threat going forward. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office gave the following statement: the safety and security of our schools and community remain our highest priority. We understand the concerns this situation may have caused students, parents, and faculty. We are taking every necessary precaution. Additional security measures have been implemented, and we continue to work closely with school officials and our law enforcement partners to ensure a safe environment. We encourage the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. If you see something, say something. This investigation is in the early stages and we are reviewing all available evidence. We will provide updates as more information becomes available. A letter was actually sent to Memorial High School families relaying the information about the plot. On February 21st, the 16-year-old was seen in juvenile court. Associate judge over the trial determined the girl needed to stay in custody, and there's going to be a second hearing at this point in a week. On the same day, undercover feds and uniformed officers from several different agencies gathered to execute a search warrant on a townhome complex just a couple of blocks away from Memorial High School, and this is where they believe the 16-year-old lived with her mother. When they knocked on the door, a man was there, and he had absolutely no clue who the girl was, had no idea what was going on about the threat. Apparently, she was using a relative's address as her address so she could attend Memorial High School. Where she was actually living at the time was in Southwest Houston, and where she was living was outside of the radius for Memorial High School, so she would have gone to a different school. So the investigators ended up picking up a different warrant, going to the house in Southwest Houston, and this time it turned out to be the correct address. They spent several hours in the residence taking photos and collecting evidence. What evidence has yet to be disclosed? Neighbors of the 16-year-old said that they rarely saw her, but they did see more of her mother, and they noted that the mom was a wonderful and kind person. And talk about apples falling far from trees, because what the hell. The mother of the 16-year-old is cooperating with police, which is wonderful. So I went ahead and looked up what kind of charges terroristic threats would bring on a person. So it can range anywhere from a class A or B misdemeanor to a third-degree felony. Some of the factors that play into this charge are a person commits an offense if he threatens to commit any offense involving violence to any person or property with intent to cause or action of any type to this threat by an official or volunteer agency organized to deal with emergency. 2, place any person in fear of imminent serious bodily injury. 3, prevent or interrupt the occupation or use of a building, room, place of assembly, place to which the public has access, place of employment or occupation, aircraft, automobile, or other form of conveyance or other public place. 4, cause impairment or interruption of public communications, public transportation, public water, gas, or power supply, or other public service. Which a school I would think would be considered a public service if it is a public school. And 5, place the public or a substantial group of the public in fear of serious bodily injury or influence the conduct or activities of a branch of the federal government, the state, or a political subdivision of the state. Now, again, I'm not sure, but I feel like a school would fall into those guidelines. And I'm also not a lawyer. So if you're a lawyer and you have more insight into this, please do let us know. What we know is that she could be serving up to 10 years depending on some of these charges. So if she ends up getting a third-degree felony, that is 2 to 10 years in prison and fines reaching $10,000. If she gets a state jail felony, she's confined to a state jail for 180 days or up to 2 years and fines reaching $10,000. $2,000. A Class A misdemeanor would be up to 1 year in jail and fines reaching $4,000, while a Class B misdemeanor or confinement in jail for up to 180 days and a fine of up to $2,000. And that's really all the info that I have in this moment. But if you've heard this story and there's more to it that I missed, that is what the comment section is for. If you really have anything you want to say about this, I'm here. This is open discussion, so do definitely let me know what you're thinking, and we'll just follow up on this later if you're interested. I just have great relief that the FBI and local law enforcement were able to work so promptly and so well together that they got these girls out of there before they could even get into the school to do anything. And I hope that the source that told them about this is sleeping well, knowing that they did something that potentially saved a lot of people's lives. So kudos to them 100%. And like I was saying before, you have to report this kind of stuff. If you see something, say something, because your report could mean the difference between children going to school safely and children not making it home to the parents at night. And I'm super grateful to the person who felt it necessary to say something, because even if they weren't going to end up following through with these plans, potentially you're helping these people as well, because if it is sort of like a mental health crisis, they're breaking down, they're having some kind of issue that really needs to be addressed with a mental health professional, by saying something, you can potentially be getting them the help they need. So that's really all I have for you today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there. That's it. Take care.